Welcome back, everybody. Take two. This is the second half of the episode. I'm just continuing at this because the other one ran long. This one, oh, just plus give me time to edit it all out. What we're doing the transmission mounts. Transmission mounts have to be affixed to the chassis so I can pull the entire subframe down. If you want to service the car, service anything underneath the car, oil pan, whatever. It just makes life a whole much easier, and it'll give me tons more room for running the exhaust and a whole bunch of other small things, you know, bleeding the clutch. That's a big thing, bleeding the clutch in these shit boxes, you know. So what we're going to do first is we have to give the mount donators. The first mount is this, the shock from the Mercer. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what are you fucking thinking? Well, how many times have you jumped the car and come down and the shocks are still good? How many times have you smashed a thing into a friggin' wall and the shocks, and the only thing that bends is the piston rod that's up here. This thing is actually really tight because it has like, I think it was 400 psi of pressure inside of it with oil, and nitrogen, 400 psi of nitrogen inside of it to stop the oil from forming and all sorts of stuff. I'm not really sure exactly what it is for stock shocks, but I'm going to show you how to get the gas out of this. I mean, how to get the gas and oil out of this thing. I've already tried it once, so I wore everything, 2 condoms and 7 pounds of safety gear, and it didn't blow up on me, which I was surprised. But it's actually kind of neat when you see it go. So we're going to get over to the my drill press, and I'll show you how I get the gas and oil out of this thing, and then we're going to cut it up and we're going to make something work, because this steel in this tube is very strong. So we might as well utilize it. And you can go pick these up free from people throwing, from shops throwing them away. Someone does a shock absorber change on a car, they have like this, and they grab it. I mean, a lot of cars that have struts, but a lot of them still have shocks. So just grab them out. So let's go over to the drill press and let's pop this thing, literally, off. Over to the bench. This is the fun part. All right. One thing that I need to know, or one thing you need to know, is that we have to try and, I don't want the oil going everywhere. There might be a lot of pressure inside these things, but we're trying, see, I'm using a really small drill bit. I used a smaller one prior, but it just broke off the case because I have to do it at an angle. What we're trying to do here is, this is going to retain all of the oil that, that we're not going to, recycle, because we don't want to be bad for the environment. There's that. Then you take the big end, which is the canister end. There we go. Now, we have it in here. And I like to lock it right in with my ancient 1950s vise. Take an old rag, throw it right there. And let me bring you over here, and I'm going to show you how this thing explodes. Okay, safety glasses up and locked. Come on, there you go. Now, this is kind of interesting. There we go. Oh, I don't want the oil going. There we go. Oh, the thing just stuck inside of it. Ah, piece of junk. All right. Well, I spilled some oil, but I got it out. Well, 2 or 3 coffees later, you get a shock with no oil. And this is about how much oil that's in them. I had it just straining straight out. Put a bigger drill bit in it so I could empty it right out. And now let's just cut the tube, and let's see what we got. Well, we got this. Let me clean that up, and then we'll cut this thing up, and I'll show you the other mounts, or how I'm going to use these for the other mount. We have the tube. The tube's going to be going. This section is going to be bolted basically to the chassis, or to the transmission tunnel. These are the original mounts on the 5000 Quattro, 4000 Quattro transmissions. This is a 5000 because it's longer. The 4000 was about down to here, but they bolt right on. They interchange except for the length of the arm on this one. If you take a look, if you put it like there, the bolts all line up. It's exact. But if you take a look at here, you have an indentation. I was looking at going, why do they have that indentation? Well, part of the transmission comes out and goes about to right here. It's like a little bump out where they did this in order to, order for the mount to go on. I'm sitting there thinking, well, what do I have that's going to have a nice bump out? But this just right here. Well, take a look at this. This is about the same aspect. If the indentation here, the indentation here. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this metal out and use this bump out right there, and that bump out is just going to be transferred over. Now, what I did do before is I already tested it out. I went and cut out a piece of the other control arm right here. 2 pinch welds that are on this, they're going to have to pound out just like that. If you take a look, this thing right there will indent almost exactly where you want it. And there is where our bolt holes are going to be. And I'm going to just lightly bring this down, tap it down. I'm going to bend up the edges to add stiffness to it. And it's going to be welded right to there. I'm probably going to put some support ribs, just small ones, nothing really major, just enough just to give it some more structural stability, especially around the bolt holes. I just don't want to move it. There's not much force that's going on there. So what I want to do first is I want to have this. I have to cut it out for the Sport Quattro anyway. So what I'm going to do is I have the bolt holes as close as I can to the center. Let me turn this around. This is the one we want to use first, the indentation. This is the indentation we're going to use. And I want to cut the least of it off that I have to. But I want to get the most of it in there. So, actually, I want it on the other side, so I want this right here. This is where the bolt holes will be. Let me get the stupid cap off. There's our indentation that we're going to have. Bolt hole's going to be here, here, and here. I'm going to cut even further just to give me a little bit extra depending if I need to move it at all. I'll probably cut up into here and just make it a lot bigger. So let's just do that. Next in this profession of trying to make a engine mount from nothing, we need to take the subframe off, but we have to first support the rear of the transmission, get it level to where we want it to be. Let's throw the jack underneath it, lift it up we're trying to get it as close to the end as possible. Now that the jack is supported in the back, let me just take the subframe down. Should be pretty quick. Or actually the mounts from the transmission mount to the subframe. I want to get off first. 17mm bolts, no biggie. Seeing how we have nothing underneath here, it's pretty simple to get out. Let's get the subframe out. Well, at least I wasn't underneath it. Well, here's the mount that we have to do. So let me bring you over here. All right, here's where the mount for the transmission is. Whoop, I'm just trying to put this right there. Hopefully you can see it. This is the mount. This is the really weird mount. This is the bump out right here is the reason why it's both embossed on both sides. That's mainly for casting, I would assume. But we have to get this cleared. So we have to use the indentation from the bottom of that control arm to put right here and to trim it all up. Now, what we're going to be doing is pretty much in the center. We're going to go to like right here. That's where I think it's going to go. You can go up or down a little bit, but probably right here. Now, if I want to have it there, if I can get the way on, this is the mount. This is the mount from the Mercer. This right here, I want it on this side. So, if you can sit there and see, if it's like this, this is where it's going to be a very short run, which is good. And if we're going to go like this, we're going to have right here to right there. See a little bit of an angle. And I want to cut it straight up because I want to attach it to right here. Let's go. I'm going to go cut that on the whiz wheel, and I'm going to I'll zip right on back to doing the other putting it on. Because then if it's right here, it's like right in, no worries. Well, it's getting there. Looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit more. But this is the whole thing. You're doing a bit by bit by bit. Wow, that's looking pretty good right there. Because I got to bend this corner right here. I can weld it right under that seam. And it's really close. So, let's clean up. Let's get rid of this undercoating right here. I mean, it's right there. I'm almost thinking of, I gotta actually put the mount in to see if I need to trim this back. Or if I can keep it like this, that way I don't have to do any more. But it's right on the money. I can fill in this with weld, no problem. It's straight off of here. Let's go cut the holes for the plate, and we'll measure up and see what we need for the mount. Now we're going to trim it. Now, here's the plate that we just did. Rough cut, basically. Couldn't find any small Allen bolts to fit in there, so I used these and a couple of washers is what I'm going to use to put them on. Well, first thing, let's try this. If it's flat, it clears that thing, so if you have an old Mercer, you have a base for a mount for a transmission. Okay, there's that. I don't need the top one, and I just need it set so all they go in and out. Now, let's take this. It's going to go pretty much right here. So that mount will go right in here. There's very little move, very little. I'm going to bend this tab down. After I get it welded inside here, I'll weld it inside here. All right, now I have a place where I can put that tubing right there to right here. I can measure it out, put it in. I'm going to have to notch it for this, but it'll go on there. I'm going to take this bolt out first, just because it's just a pain in the butt. You know, I'm going to get it off to re-weld the entire thing. And I don't mind just having a couple of bolts right here. And I'll put this in later because when I drop it all the way down, that's when I can get the bolt easily. You know, so let's just do that, and I'll measure up. All right, we got this all set up. One thing is, you can look like the measurements, can't really tell, but it's pretty much 2 3/4 inches. We'll notch out a little bit of the side of the tube to go inside here. It's going to be very little distance in order to do that, which means it'll increase the stiffness. That way I can give, I'll probably, put a shield or a something right here just to add stiffness all the way around. You know, a little border. Don't know yet. Might just, you know, do right here. No idea. Let's first go cut that tubing, and we'll get this stuff tacked on, and I can pull the mount down. Okay, we went from the center of the hole, which is pretty much there, 2 3/4 inches, right there. Trim this right there. Let's see if it works. Ha! There we go. What do you think? It's pretty much straight on in the center. I'm just going to give a couple tacks right here and right here. Let me go start up the welder, and we'll be doing this all. Well, let's go weld this thing up. After I weld up the body. No. Well, there it is. Just threw it in some water. It's, you know, cool, but, you know, still a little warm for this, but what it is I have to do some other small stuff. You know, I want to make a lip right here. I'm not really sure, or I'm going to put another bar here to stabilize it. I'm looking at it going, I think the metal's a little too thin. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to stick it on there anyway. And, you know, it doesn't look that bad. You know, it's very sharp. You know, I mean, it's not going. You know, it's not going anywhere. Time to take a slight intermission, and I'll be back to make the other mount. So, it's not going to be an intermission for you. It's going to be an intermission for me. Yeah. Get a cup of coffee. I'm back. Cup of coffee in hand. Time to get on to the left side engine mount. Transmission mount. It's all looking pretty good. Engine's fairly stable. All we have to do is just do some grinding. I also did I did a small thing on the other engine, transmission mount that I'm going to be doing on this mount, and I'll show you how to do it pretty quick. So let's just jump right on into it and get that all ground up, marked up the other shock mount, and then we will cut up everything and make it work. You know, when we made the other plate, you know, I have to smooth it all out and all that stuff. But it, you know, it's just a flat plate. It goes right on. There's no bump outs, no nothing that we have to contend with. The only thing we have to contend with is these are the bolts that are generally on all the transmission mounts. As you can see, they're aluminum. They're pretty thick. This is just in their gussets, if you want to call that, cast into them. So they're strong. And this is all that comes out, you know, to hold that mount in. Problem is with these, you got all this stick out to contend with. What we have to do, and I was stacking washers and, you know, like this and like that, and, you know, I was starting to run out of all the washers. What I got to do is make a spacer that actually has it, and you can go about that far. Let me see, put the light on it. You can go about that far in, okay, before it bottoms out on the actual transmission case. So I need to make spacers pretty much about this size, a little bit bigger. And I'll show you how I did it. This is just a This is a steering shaft. Came out of my '56 Ford right here. And what I did, talk about lucking out. I just put it on here, and it rolls. And I'll show you how I cut my my bushings. Not bad, actually. Okay, here is the material right here. Before I turn the grinder on, you can watch the rod. And what I do is I use my thumb like this, and I just barely touch it like this, and have it roll. I have about 2 or 3 millimeters of space where between minimum amount of threads you want into the transmission case and the maximum amount. And if I have a little bit over, I can always grind it down, but I don't want to. So if I just put it right here, this is, you know, this looks good. I should have more than enough threads inside the casing to have it set up correctly. So I'm going to turn the grinder on, turn the volume down, and just watch the tube spin around. Doesn't work that badly. Well, we got all the mounts now. Let's go. All right, we're now under the car. As you can see, this is just flat bottom. The painted side I left, I ground out the kind of the rusty side. It's really not even rusty that bad, but yeah, see, not much jet out. My friends ask me in jiu-jitsu why my hands are so strong, or my grips are so strong. It's because of doing this. Oh, the bloody time. We have to have it set like that. Now, how far are we going to go? Oh, let's see. Almost looks like we have to go the opposite way than the way this thing was channeled. It's going to be right there. Right there. There. Probably want to go right there, up, and I'll, actually, this here comes down and back like this. I'll run it back like that, because if this is up like this, it has to go along this curve. Maybe a little bit less. I don't like that. That'll be good to start off with. From here to here. Yeah. Well, let's give that a try. I think I got, this is as most as I can do, but and comfortably weld it. Now, one thing we have to consider, we need some of the rod to actually be on here, not the actual bushing. I don't want that. So if I look at it, if I come down here, that's the most I can get. Center hole to center hole. Kind of looks like two, well, it looks like 2 3/8. I mean, that's about as close as I think I can get it. So if we have this right here, let's say we have 2 1/4, we still have some of the tube to weld to, so I think we're good. What we got to do now is I want to tack this to here, because a section will go through here, which is not bad. I'm going to go right here. I'll tack it right, you know, it's relatively in the center. I'll tack it here, and I'm going to put a bridge of something right here, and then we'll buttress it some other way. But just to get this thing set and relatively square right there, this is where I need to tack it, is right here. So let me just scrape a little bit of this off. Which I already did. Let me go dress this up and I'll throw the tack on it. Okay. 2/16, so it'll be 2 3/8. Wish I had one of these in metric. When you're too lazy to change your tools. You want to know what that was? That's movie magic. I've trimmed it twice. Oh boy. Alright. Let me get the... I'm going to tack it in here. Tack these on so I can pull them all off and weld it on the bench. Well, got this done. Let's check the depth, just to put your mind at ease. Well, if you take a look at this, yeah, no, half inch, something like that. Bring this over here. What do we got? About 3/8 of an inch. I know this thing bolts up, so I actually have more threads per inch inside the transmission casing itself. So, without further ado, let's go bolt this up just so I can take the jack stand out from in back of the transmission, and we can get this thing all squared away. And I don't think this thing is going anywhere, but I'm probably going to radius the ends and maybe make a bar or something like that just for added stiffness. That's pretty much it. So let's put this on. Alright. Can't really do the top one until we pull the gearbox down, but I think this might be the conclusion of this episode.